Welcome to CompareData Getting Started Session 2. In Session 2, we'll continue with where we left off in Session 1. We compare the data of a table that has different name inside 1 and side 2 and has columns that have changed names also. You may also want to compare all the tables data in one time, not one at a time. So in the main tab right now, it's the Explorer view, Explorer tab, which changes as the workspace item changes. However, I could also open an item in its own tab, and now it doesn't change as the workspace selection changes. Normally, all you need is just the Explorer tab, but sometimes you would want to open additional tabs. So we want to, let's say, want to compare all the data of all these tables, but not one by one. So that's where the items view, these are the different views you can see on the table. So this is the contents view, this columns view. The column view compares the columns of the tables. This is a folder, so it'll compare all the columns of the items, of the folder items. If it's a single item, it compares these are metadata comparisons: columns, index, primary key, foreign key, exported foreign key, privilege, and triggers. And as you can see, as I go through each view, the view is automatically retrieved. The comparison is automatically done because it's a single table, so it's automatically done. But if I have a folder item, I want to compare all the indices for all these tables. The comparison is not automatically done because it may take a long time when you may not want to do it. So it's up to you to do it. And the same thing with the items view. And in the items view is basically a summary of all the items you have. And now if I want to compare all the data for all these items, I could do it in one step. Now all of them get compared, and I could see I have one item that doesn't have any differences. There are some items that have differences, and I could see the differences because I'm keeping the data, I'm keeping the object if there's a difference. If there is no difference, the data is getting discarded. If I open this item, I see the data has been discarded because it's being compared, the item is being compared, and there's no differences. So this setting, the keep object setting, tells the application whether you want to keep the objects after you compare them or not. And obviously, if you keep them, then you need more memory because you have to store their comparison results in memory. So the other ones, on the other hand, I do have all their data still in memory, so I can just open the table and I see the differences. Not that that's the one I want to open. Okay, so I see, right, I have a difference here. I'm going to fit all the columns so I can see them. Okay, so I see I have a difference here, and I could filter similarly. These are row counters and these are column counters, and similar to the row counters, I could filter on columns. So I'm only seeing key columns and columns that have data differences in this example, and now I only also have rows that have only differences. So this is the row that has a difference, and this is how you compare the data of multiple items. I could do the same thing for this folder. This folder has only one item, so when I compare it, I just go the result of the same as comparing the data of the item individually. So let me compare all the indices for these tables, and I have a filter here on the tables. I don't want to compare anything new. I don't want to compare the columns for new items on side 1 or side 2. I only want to compare items that are different or same in their contents. So basically I want to compare the columns of these items. So let me compare the indices. I compare the indices and I see what happens here is the Sybase and SQL Server use different index names. So this is by default my comparison key. So I don't want to use that because it's so rather I'm going to use the table name, and then I'm going to use the column and the sequence and the column as my comparison key, and I can just recompare. And now this is a little better. I can see the indices names are different. This should be refreshing. It's not refreshing. The index names are different. However, I could ignore it because I know they're different. So when I compare them in a different criteria, and I see now, yeah, the database is different. I know that. These I really don't care about. Okay, so now I see by this comparison criteria, which is the table name, column name, and sequence number for the column, I see they're all match. I only have 3 new keys, new indices on the SQL Server side. And I similarly can compare, if necessary, all the columns for all these tables. See how their data tab has changed between SQL Server and Sybase. This concludes session 2 of CompareData Getting Started.